Ready? Okay, it's 10:15. We'll call the Sawyer County Administration Committee meeting to order, please. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call?
Tweed Schuman,
Here.
Ron Buckholz,
Present.
Tom Duffy, Ron Kinsley,
Here.
Dale Schleter.
Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Mr. Kinsley?
Committee, we're running late.
You betcha, sir. You do a nice job there, Mr. Kinsley. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Certification of compliance with open meetings law, Madam Clerk.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. The meeting agenda has been presented. Okay, moving on. Number 6, public comment. I have one sheet turned in. Mrs. Elmer, please step to the podium. State your name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Linda Zilmer, resident Village of Birchwood and Edgewater property owner. This week I've had the opportunity to watch 2 presentations on the proposed substance misuse budget. And today's presentation was much more informative, and I think the Finance Committee got a good idea of how some of these funds are being proposed to be used. One comment I believe I made on Monday's meeting is that one very important partner is missing in that, and that's UW Extension. UW Extension works one-on-one with a lot of people in the county, whether it's this FoodWise or SNAP program or 4-H or the reading program they're doing in the jail or working with seniors through Strong Bodies. On an outreach and awareness side, as well as being part of a solution on prevention and life skills before substance abuse, I think they should be included and provided some financial support. And in listening to the number of events that are being planned, I do hope Health and Human Services tracks the number of people attending to really see what the true impact is. And again, Extension, I think, would probably reach just as many, if not more people. With regard to a comment made by Supervisor Hessel in the previous meeting, she was interested in getting a monthly report on the number of opioid deaths per month. And I was thinking that from both the medical examiner side and the ambulance director side, it would be meaningful to get a month-by-month report that shows cause of death by cause, and then maybe ambulance run by cause. And if there's something within the tracking systems that could automatically generate that report, because I'm guessing maybe even alcohol deaths per capita are higher than opioid deaths. And then finally, on staffing, I hope more time is spent looking at how staffing is addressed in terms of the services provided, because in the matter of probate, I would fully support having a full-time qualified and experienced probate officer, as well as other departments need staffing because it's costing us legal fees and other things. Well worth the investment in people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Lynn, anybody online? Nobody? Okay. All right, moving on. Number 7, approval of our meeting minutes, July 13th, 2023. Mr. Duffy?
I moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Duffy, second by Mr. Buckholz to approve our meeting minutes of July 13, 2023 as presented. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, letter 8, Gary, Veteran Service Department report, sir.
Good morning. For July, we had 505 phone calls, 363 letters, emails, and faxes, and 150 office visits. To date, to the first of the month, I guess, or the end of the month, 121 disability and pension claims. And we'd received a retroactive payment, or the veterans received retroactive payment of $154,224 and initial payout for claims decided in the veterans' favor. We've been very busy. This is the final day for PACT Act. When they passed the law, they said the day that it was signed into law, if they filed before this date with the VA, they would retroactive, and it was a successful claim for whatever we were claiming under the PACT Act. If it was successful, they'd pay back to the date that it was signed. So there's a pretty good push of people last minute coming in to get claims filed, but this is the end of it today. That doesn't stop people from filing claims in the future under what changed in the PACT Act, but the date of claim will be the date that they initially filed with the VA from here on out for that, as normal with any other claim. So our training is up to date. We continue to be very busy, and other than that, we're doing okay.
Super. Do you anticipate any budget increase for 2024, Gary, in the Veteran Service Department?
From last year, no. Things could change differently depending on manning issues. But that's a discussion that's yet to happen. So,
Okay. Anything else for Gary, board? If not, thank you, sir, for all you do.
yep, you're welcome.
All right. Number 8, Information Technology Department. Mike?
Morning. So, vendors on.
I got to turn that on. Yeah, the technology sometimes gets me. So we've been working with the vendors for the new courtroom as well as some of the electronics. There's still some issues with our doors and the readers. They've had some issues, and we're trying to work through some of those now. But he said he's made some progress, so those should be all operative next week. That's the plan. Other than that, so you got my report up there. We got a few things going on and completed, and that's it, unless you have any questions.
Okay. Anything, board, for IT? Nope. All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Number 10, Human Resource Report. Rose?
Good morning.
Morning.
So you guys have my report. The only thing I would add is for driver operator and public health nurse, I have offered both of those positions and they've both been accepted by the candidate. So that's good. Regarding the register and probate and the deputy clerk of court, we did bring in a retired register and probate from a neighboring county to come and help train our staff, get them up to speed, and kind of take away some of the stress from that office. She started Tuesday and it's been going very well. And the public health assistant position, we've been having some difficulty. We get people that are interested in it, we interview them, and they don't accept it. And I don't know why, but we're going to retool that position and see if we can either tweak it more toward clerical or more toward nursing to see if we can tap a different pool of applicants. Other than that, union negotiations, we'll talk about. Sheriff's Department is starting. The dispatch center is now using the Time Clocks Plus, which is going to help us automate our payroll. So it's good. That's it, unless you have any questions.
Rose, that position you're having trouble filling, and is it public health?
Mhm.
It's not the pay wage, is it? That they're complaining about it?
So I think it's part clerical and part like, well, when COVID came to be, you know, that person was swabbing and kind of doing more like a CNA or an LPN type stuff. So it's hard to have, if you have somebody that's interested in clerical, they might not be interested in the health aspect and vice versa. We're just going to rework it a little bit and see if that helps.
Good. Thank you. Anything, board, for Rose?
No. Thank you, Rose.
Yep. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for that. All right. Number 11, County Clerk Department Report. Madam Clerk.
Yes, you see my report up there. I guess the highlight that I have is that we're offering an in-person election training in November for all municipalities. We encourage board members to ask their poll workers to attend. It's going to be offered only in person. We found that our Zoom attempt last time had issues because we had to demonstrate so much. So encourage those folks to attend the training. It does qualify for their 3-hour WEC annual hours. So send them our way. It's going to be held in this room.
Is there any cost for that, Madam Clerk?
No cost.
No charge.
We're going to be providing pizza.
Good.
November 1st.
November 1st. Okay. And I see you've been elected as vice chair of the Wisconsin County Clerk Association.
Not the association of the convention committee and of District 8. So the 2 committees, but they shouldn't take up much time because they're going to be virtual meetings.
Oh, let's
I did
congratulate.
not ask for this. I actually nominated others.
We were congratulating you. Okay. Anything else, Madam Clerk? Okay. Thank you. All right, that moves us on then to number 12. Entertain a motion. Am I correct here, Andy? Entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 19.851 C, E, and F, Wisconsin statutes, review pending step 3 grievance before the administration committee and discuss the committee's response to same.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Mr. Kinsley. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call vote? Yes.
Mr. Buckholz.
Yes.
Mr. Duffy.
Yes.
Mr. Kinsley. Mr. Schleter.
Yes.
At 10:26.
Thank you. Okay, we're out of closed session at 10:39 a.m. We'll go then to open session. Discussion and possible action regarding closed session. Board, Mr. Buckholz,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to not approve the grievance that was filed
before this committee,
before this committee.
not approve, meaning deny the grievance.
Deny the grievance. That's what
Okay.
I wanted to say.
I got a second by Mr. Duffy. Motion by Mr. Buckholz to deny the grievance, second by Mr. Duffy. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Number 13, union negotiations. Entertain a motion again to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851E, deliberating of or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. In addition, the committee will be discussing collective bargaining strategy and thus is excluded from open session requirements under statute 19.82 para 1. Motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Mr. Duffy to go into closed session at 10:42. Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Excuse me, Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Buckholz.
Yes.
Mr. Duffy, Mr. Kinsley.
Yes.
Mr. Schleter. 4 minutes.
Okay, motion carries. We are now in closed session. Okay, we're in open session. We'll move to number 14, County Administrators Report. Mr. Alvarado.
Yeah, I think all the big items we've talked about as far as union negotiations and where we're at with personnel. We did wrap up leadership and management training for 19 employees. I think that went well. We received some good reviews from those that participated. I think it's helpful to have some investment in those people who are taking management positions with us. Budget process, you heard a little bit if you were in the finance meeting, but we have a couple departments we're still working with to get in their final budget numbers. But we'll have that, we'll be jumping into that in earnest next week to start putting together next year's budget. It won't be, I mean, even though we're getting the additional shared supplemental shared revenue is what they're calling it, I don't think it's going to be any easier because we do have some position requests that we're going to have to work through. You've heard Clerk of Court has requested additional staff. Gary in Veteran Service, we've piloted down there when the Oasis building was ADRC and Veteran Service, like a shared position between those and those two operations. Gary has indicated he would like to go back to a full-time position. So we do have some, there's some other staffing issues we've been discussing. So that $284,000 of additional funds that we're going to get is not going to stretch real far. I mean, and part of the eligible uses for that additional funds is in EMS and law enforcement and court operations. So we'll be looking at how to shuffle that money around to accomplish what we do. We've taken the approach from the outset with the external requests as well as internal to achieve kind of essentially a status quo budget to maintain the operations we have and the support to those outside entities. And that's Mike and I and Rose have talked about. That's our starting point is what we're trying to hit.
Are we still expecting a sales tax surplus for 23?
We're projecting.
At all anticipate that, or how?
It's tracking right now that we'll have an increase from year over year. We did not budget all of the projected sales tax for this year, but we budgeted a lot closer to the projected amount than in the prior year. So I'd be cautious about using the word surplus, but it is moving up. So there is at least the same amount to work with next year. Otherwise, our revenues for countywide operations, it's like registered deeds is down because there's just less filing fees and less transfers occurring. But offsetting that is interest income is up for what we have in the bank. So we're seeing some increases there. Forestry is knocking it out of the park right now. I think yesterday they reported almost 1.6 million in stumpage revenues. Budget amount projected for the whole year is 1.8. Last year was a little touch and go. They had to have a pretty phenomenal November and December to hit budget. This year, it looks like things are moving along a little more smoothly early in the year here. So we don't have any concerns really on the revenue side, but definitely, we've been making as we can some wage adjustments within the budget the last couple of years. Once you do that just the bar always goes up in the subsequent years. So, but we should have, I think, projected budget for you next month, at least our administrative budget, where we're at with that and what it looks like.
Are the Ottawa County placements and Health and Human Services where we thought they'd be, or? Is that-
Yes, well, the Ottawa County placements for adults they're within budget. There's no red flags. Right now, this year, juvenile placements are running high. And that's primarily because we have two juveniles, one in-state, one out-of-state, that are in higher cost facilities. We talked about that at Human Services a little bit. They're just, and this is a statewide conversation amongst counties, that for juvenile services, there just isn't enough facilities able to take youth in the state. So counties are going to Illinois. Ours, I believe, is Missouri, Kentucky. This is for some of these high needs youth. And it's more like it's not like, as we explained the other night, it's not like Lincoln Hills. It's not like juvenile jail, so to speak. These are rehabilitation or special needs or high needs youth that are getting assistance from these placements. So we are running high in that specific area, but adults, like our holds at Winnebago or Trempealeau, are all in line with budget projections. Just a little bit on the last meeting, we talked about the opioid budget. So at the county board meeting, if you've been in any of the committee meetings that have seen this is moving its way to the board for use of the opioid funds. And I just wanted to, reiterate what I've said in the other committees. Through the fentanyl awareness group and public health, they're getting an HHS Department of Human Services grant for some of this. They're asking for opioid money to fund some of the things like the awareness campaign and some of their work. That's just like a small piece of the overall picture of what's happening within our purview related to opioid and substance issues. The TAD grant for diversion and treatment court that we've had for a couple of years, that's a part of it. That's people who are already in the penal system to help them not have, reduce the recidivism for offenders. And treatment court, part of that experience is getting treatment so that we don't see them come back through. I think that we've been awarded a $250,000 law enforcement grant for deflection, which is essentially a diversion program for pre-arrest. It gives officers training. There's also some medical assisted therapy that's part of that and services in the jail. So you add those two components in along with what the opioid campaign, there's a lot of different pieces there. I mean, if you add up all those dollars, we're like TAD grant is 250, the law enforcement grant's 250. You know, we're between $500,000 and $750,000 investment into this area of our county operation. Airport, the runway rehabilitation funds that we applied for at the federal level for next year was not approved. So now we are looking at 25 before we'll see a runway rehabilitation project. The petition that was filed last month was approved and approved at the Bureau of Aeronautics. So that we'll move ahead with funding for those areas as needed. I think the big items for this month that kind of covers those. Still looking for a division head for child, family, youth services and HHS, but otherwise a lot of that program is functioning well. So I think we're still doing training there, but I have essentially rebuilt that to the point where we're not needing outside help. We had contracts with Lutheran Social Services, as well as support from some other counties. So we've told those that they can stand down for the time being, and we're able to handle everything that's happening there. And then obviously the building project, getting that off the, getting that wound down and closed out, it would be a big check mark for the year. Updated Public Works and Finance before this meeting that there are some issues. Well, a couple things. We're trying to resolve some issues we have with the project itself, and we are using a owner's representative to help with those discussions. So that'll proceed. But there are also some things that we've just set aside that we'll talk about once the project's closed out to see if we can come up with funding for and decide if we want to move ahead with things like HVAC in the entryway, duress system. We don't have that in the rest of the building right now. That was shut down or pulled out as a result of the renovation and building project. There's also some furniture, fixtures types things that were not included that are wants at this point that we'll bring back if we can come up with funding for it. Right now, really just trying to get it closed out and then count up all the invoices and make sure we're at where we think we are.
Okay, thank you. Andy, any questions for Andy, guys?
Last
Yeah,
night you
but-
mentioned some projects that you are looking forward to,
I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to them, but
forward to talking about.
yeah. So now, I mean, maintenance, we really have tried to clear up their time so they could help with things at the new construction and the remodeling. They've done a lot of work over here that was not planned. I mentioned, just want to give them a shout out wherever I can. If you see like what you call it, the counter that was built out here, the stand for the computer around the corner, the benches were all the benches from the old courtroom. They refinished those, so we didn't have to go buy any additional seating. So they've got a lot of that work done. So now we're getting them back. HHS is doing some reorganization that had been long planned, trying to consolidate the public health people all in one area of the human services wing, adjusting some offices with the hopes of getting all the HHS staff over into their wing of the building behind their counter. That will free up some other offices. With the clerk of court taking on register and probate and moving that into her area. We had budgeted in the capital plan for this year to actually do some remodeling in the register and probate office to give them a little bit better security and pull some of their public contacts out of the hallway. We won't have to do that now. Instead, we're looking at doing that in the clerk of court's office so that people can transact some business, especially register and probate discussions are sensitive and sometimes lengthy. So we want them to have a ability to do that within their office. The DA's office has previously requested more security in their area. So we have in the plans a secure window going in down there. And then the conversations restarted in the county clerk, treasurer, register of deeds area, where it's, prior to me, there was some effort made to consolidate support staffing there so that people can kind of cover windows. which I think we're working towards. But the layout of the office is not real conducive for the public. There's multiple windows. You have to walk through the hallway with the mail machine and the mailboxes. So we are eyeballing how to lay that out a little bit better. And we're trying to do this with minimal hammers and saws and tearing down walls. But put the mail machine in a secure area along with the mailboxes to open up that hallway, and then consolidate some counter space and windows, so it's easier for the public to understand and come in and do business.
Super.
It's good, that we have a maintenance department that's capable of taking on some of these things internal rather than having to bring in outside contractors.
That's Tim and his staff, right?
Him and his staff. Yep.
Yeah. He has a staff of how many?
One, go through their names. Craig, Garrett. Yeah. 4 maintenance, 2 custodial.
If you want to recognize them at a county board meeting, just let me know. and
Sure.
We'll put it on there. Okay, anything else for Andy, guys?
Oh, thank you, Andy.
Yeah. All right, any future agenda items for admin? Yep, budget will be coming. You bet.
Budget.
You'll have that second courtroom all encased in that budget, right, Annie?
It'll be encased and tracked as you requested. I guess just a reminder that tomorrow is the investiture ceremony at 3:30 for
Yes.
Judge Isham.
Wonderful. All right, correspondence, reports, conferences, meetings. WCA is coming up, right? Do you have a crew going down there, Lynn? In September? Good. And we have some resolutions that'll be presented during that business meeting?
There, I have not seen the agenda, but yeah, we have resolutions that went in to be considered. Some of the things that I know one of the things we submitted for was addressed in the last state budget, so they might have pulled that out, but I haven't heard yet.
Okay. All right. If nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.